start the recording.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it. All right.
There we go.
There we go.
Mary Carol had said, and certainly go ahead with whatever you wanted to, Charmaine, with the agenda, but she had said that two goals of your were improvements, continued improvements at the Justice Center and overall improvements in the IT infrastructure in the Hamilton County law enforcement. And we posted that in our invitation, so you may want to address those at some point. But I'm going to let you go ahead and take it away, and then afterwards
Absolutely.
we'll have a discussion.
Okay, that sounds great. So, I'll just try to give you all a kind of a quick overview of what we've been doing. We're almost 3 years in, and I'm very proud of all the things that we've accomplished and so forth. First all, I will address, because I had a question prior to the start of this about the car theft that happened back in my first year, actually my first, 3 months of being sheriff. And, we did recover the car right away, but not my weapon that was locked in the car. So, but recently, and you may have seen it in the news, they did recover the weapon. So Cincinnati officers recovered that weapon. I'm so grateful to them for the work they do and the fact that they did get that weapon off the street now. It was in possession of, somebody that shouldn't have had it. And they found it, with a traffic stop that included a second gun that they found in the car. And there were 4 guys in the car with those guns, but they were not, possessing them. Like, they found them under the seat and so forth. So yes, so I am getting my gun back. It's now off the street. I educated the public because, transparency is transparency, and that stands for me as well. So I did receive, some phone calls, some advice that, hey, just tell the public that this is under investigation, and and don't talk about it. Well, I didn't see it that way. So I gave out the details that we had. We absolutely, the gun was used in 4 different instances. 3 of those were just nobody could figure out who shot it or what it was shot, what the gun was shot at, because there wasn't anybody there, but they recovered the shell casings for 3 instances. And then in the 4th one, it was a robbery. And the person who was the victim of the robbery at gunpoint refused to cooperate with law enforcement. So, you can just, I don't know what those circumstances are, but there's no, and that's the brief, so I've been briefing people on it. I literally gave it to the press, everything we had right away. And I know they probably did a story or 2 on it. But moving past that, I pledged transparency, and that's what you've seen from the sheriff's office. And you're going to continue to see that regardless of who it involves or what it involves. The other thing that we've done is, I've hired a command staff that I've already talked about that is very diverse. So the 11 people that sit at the command table, which are majors and myself and the chief deputy, are all people who come from different backgrounds. There's Republicans, there's Democrats, there's Black people, there's white people. I mean, and women and men. And it changes the conversation. And we have been able to get so much accomplished because we have that diversity, and because everybody there is and the key factor is they're all rowing in the same direction, right? I mean, that's the thing. And fiscal responsibility, I talk about first. And, the first 2 years we came into budget, even though my predecessor was very much millions over budget. We got that under control that first year. We're proud of that. We kept it going the second year. Now this third year, we're on the margin, but we're still under. Okay. So we're really working to manage that. The thing that's kicking us is the overtime for the jail, because we really are trying a large recruiting effort to get these young people in, and you know, it's something everybody's struggling with. But I think we're doing
Right.
well. We're really making a lot of headway. So I look forward to, you know, the 4th year being fully staffed, actually. So we'll see.
Mhm.
But along the lines of community safety, you know, we've done a lot with safety regarding, you know, we've equipped our cars with a dash cam along with the body cams, because that gives us an extra look around and so forth, and accountability for all parties involved in any kind of stop. And, you know, we partnered with the Rotary Club to bring, you know, AEDs are the little machines that restart your heart if you're having a heart issue. And, you know, what we found and what's been the reality for our department is we did not have AEDs in every car. We were waiting oftentimes for the squad to show up, EMS to show up to get an AED. Well, we partnered with the Rotary Club, and we are now going to have an AED in the trunk of every patrol car. And I promise you that is going to save lives, because it's so, it has been year after year so frustrating for deputies to show up at a scene, be the first on the scene, and not be able to hook up that machine. You know, they have to do the manual things. So we're looking forward to that. And, you know, Christ Hospital joined in on that. And so far they have raised over $150,000 to
Wow.
that event. And again, that was one of the things that I talked about when I became sheriff was, look, we want to partner with the business community. There are people out there who want to help us. We have to tell them how, and they're doing that. You know, we do have our community affairs unit, you know, that's now been in place since my tenure, but we created the telephone. I call it the call center. And it is a number that we have pushed out to the public, and you can call that number, and 4 different deputies are assigned to answer the phone all day long. That's all they do. They answer the phone, they walk you through your issue with the criminal justice system. They're trained to get on the computer and look things up for you and all kinds of things that they do. So, you know, we have in those first 2 years, we've had 92,000 phone calls.
Wow.
And that's documented, you know, I mean, some of those phone calls are 2 minutes, some are 5 minutes, you know, but the bottom line for me, when I look at those numbers, is, you know, where were all these calls going prior to this, right? Because obviously there's a need. And the number, just so everybody knows, is a 513-946-6565. And, you know, they don't work around the clock, but if you leave a message, they will call you back. And, you know, when it's on the off hours overnight. But the other thing I want to say about that is this, you know, and this is what I ask people and how valuable this call center is for us and for the criminal justice system. Because I say to people when I give lectures all the time, I'm like, okay, let's just say that tonight someone you care about became incarcerated. All right. Now, would you know, ask yourself right now, what would you do? Would you know who to call, where to go to pay a bond, how to find out about the bond? I mean, any of those things, you wouldn't, you know, but you can call the call center and they'll walk you through it. So it's that kind of thing. I try to make it relatable. The other thing that that we're doing is, you know, we've done policy changes, and I'm super happy to tell you that with the policy changes, some of the most, what do I want to say, you know, really bad policy that was being, you know, not followed and not well thought out, like the restraint chair policy, we are down 60% in the amount of people or the amount of time that anyone would spend in that restraint chair. And that's huge. I mean, you know, when I took over, I mean, it was out of control. We had inmates, we had prisoners strapped in that restraint chair, one, for the wrong reasons, okay, for discipline. That is not a disciplinary action. And they were strapped in that chair for 8 hours, 12 hours. You know, there was a man prior to my being sheriff who died in that chair. I mean, it's just horrendous. So we fixed that. Like I said, we're down 60% and nobody stays in that chair more than 2 hours, 3 max, you know, and it's a very different deal. Immigration, we addressed that right away. And we are having a very, you know, a very good turnout. When I say turnout, I mean the officers doing what they're supposed to do, not calling ICE in the middle of the night. These guys not going out with nobody knowing where they are after that kind of thing. So de-escalation on use of force is down. Our use of forces are down 70%. You know, again, in these things, and I like to, you know, note to you that not only is it morally the right thing to do, okay, but also it absolutely cuts down on lawsuits. You know, lawsuits cost your department, cost you, the taxpayer, millions of dollars. I will tell you that, you know, my predecessor, okay, the prior sheriff that I took over for, he had 20 lawsuits in the pipeline, 20, all right? And I know for a fact that he's paid out in some of those lawsuits $1 million, at least $1 million, $1 million, $1.5 million, probably all told. And that's a lot of money. And you're paying that out because you did the wrong thing. Because you don't settle lawsuits unless you have culpability. And you guys have it. And, you know, I'm going to compare his 20. And of course, he had so far a little bit longer tenure for those lawsuits. But I have one, you guys. I have one in the 3 years I've been there. And that's a personnel lawsuit. That has to do with some kind of personnel decision. That's not a, you know, jail death, use of force, things like that. So next, I'll talk about our advisory board, because we have an advisory board that is now up and running. It is the first, okay, community advisory board of its kind. No other sheriff's department in the state has a community advisory board. So we started that. That was my vision when we came on. Again, we have almost 10 people. I think it's 10. And they are seated at the table. We selected them because they're leaders in the community. They're plugged into action agencies and so forth. And I'm happy to note to you, of course, men, women, but also Republican and Democrat, you know, and these are people that came on, and we meet with them once a month. And and what we do is we trained them up, we showed them everything, and now they advise us on issues. And there are always issues to talk about, press issues, policy issues, things like that. So we've been able to get that done. Our ABLE training, which is the active bystander training that I brought on. And again, that was a program that we got from Georgetown University. We were one of the few agencies in the nation who embraced that program, and I've got to tell you, it's working. We have the numbers. Officers who are intervening in situations when things have gotten out of hand. Officers who step in when somebody in uniform has lost their temper, right? And is getting ready to do the wrong thing. So I'm very pleased and happy about that. When we do kind of the flip side of that, like, I want to educate you that when I came on, officers being assaulted was off the chain, because not only, and if you'll remember, it was the other way too, not only were the officers in uniform not being held accountable, but neither were the prisoners. So them assaulting our officers inside the jail was off the chain. And assault after assault after assault with no accountability on their part. And, you know, I've been in this business more than 38 years, and I never knew a time working in the jail where we put up with our officers being assaulted. Absolutely not. I mean, when I was working in that jail as a supervisor and so forth, I mean, it was rare to have an officer assaulted. And the numbers I saw, it was crazy. So we sat down and we created the intensive management unit to get a quick handle on it. That intensive management unit means these men who get, assault an officer, one, they're going to be criminally charged. And two, they go into this unit and they are in a very super max type of lockdown situation. They have all of their privileges suspended. It's very harsh, in that regard. And I got to tell you, I chose a unit that was only an 8-cell unit. That's all it is. It's 8 cells. The first month or so, we filled those cells. After that, we now have 1 or 2 people that come in there every now and then. You know what I mean? We put the message out. Listen, guys. And I do have to chuckle a little bit because the guys started, the prisoners started referring to it as the shoe. I don't want to go to the shoe. No, you don't. So, but it's law and order, and it's law and order for everybody, which is exactly what I've said from the beginning. The other thing I want to talk about is the bail bond project. We embraced that, they weren't allowing that in the prior administration. And what we found in the year that we've done this, year and a half now with them in collaboration, they have assisted over 400 people to be bonded out of jail. But here's the real number, okay? 95% of those people have had a success rate of showing up to court. 95%. I mean, that's unheard of. When you go out and ask people, oh, you missed your court date. I mean, look at the capiases and things of people that miss court dates and so forth. When you have a 90% success rate for that, that's huge. And I'm very, very proud that we're partnering with them. Our medically assisted, treatment for heroin addicts and so forth is moving along quite well. We've embraced it and we're doing it. We're actively doing it. So when you come in, years past, when addicts came in and, they go through withdrawal, our medical staff was giving them a Tylenol. I mean, come on. And now we are with medical assisted treatment, we're able to kind of, taper people down, cut down on all of that sickness and illness and things like that. So it's working out very well. We've embraced Divert, which, if you don't know, that's a women helping women program. They asked the past administration if they could ride with the deputies, be available for domestic violence calls. I have no idea why, but the past administration turned them down. I thought, why would you turn down free qualified help, right? But we embraced them and they show up. I tell you what, they show up at these domestic violence, calls, and they make a big difference. They counsel these women. It is mostly women. It's a very, very valuable program. We've moved the technology along to the point where now we are going to have a new jail management system that's already funded. Our old one was 30 years old, so we are going to be able to get data. That is my next drive, data, right? Speaking of technology, as you know, we sold the helicopters. And, I got a little bit of flack for that from people just out and about. And one guy even said to me, well, you're selling the helicopters. I mean, what happens if you have to, do a water rescue or something? And I said, well, we would take a boat. We'd use a boat for a water rescue, right? I mean, we don't need the helicopter for that. And you can't sneak up on somebody with the helicopter. But we can with the drones. And we have many drones now. And we have drone operators. And our drone operators, listen, they have to be certified by the FAA. I always get that wrong. FAA, right? And they're, a technology, whizzes, and also just the guys on patrol. They put them in the trunk of the car and they get to places a lot quicker than most people. They can put that drone in the air in a few minutes, and they have cameras, infrared, better than the helicopter. So that's what we're doing now. And our goal, of course, is to have one in every car.
Hmm.
You know, this is our new aviation unit. The old aviation unit was copters. The new aviation unit is drones.
Hmm.
So our website, if you are inclined to visit that, we've revamped it. It's wonderful. It doesn't take you to a dead end like the old website. We put a lot of time and energy into it, and it's really great. The infrastructure of the jail is being repaired, regardless of what some union people might tell the media. Our elevators are brand new and they're working. We're getting door locks put in now as we speak. We're painting the facility on the inside. There's a lot of things going on. And, you know, we have wellness coordinators. We've got a wellness unit for officers that experience, you know, some hardship, because we know that that happens. And we want them to know where to go for help. We want to take away that stigma of asking for counseling and things like that. So that's where we are in a nutshell. And I will take any questions that you might have.
Okay, great. I'm going to ask you the first question, Charmaine. Where do you and the command staff, and maybe what you've heard from your advisory board, say about the marijuana issue that's on the ballot?
Well, you know, it is an issue that is kind of like, I see it like a 50-50, either you're for it or you're not, right? My philosophy on this marijuana issue is I don't want it falling into the hands of children. That's, you know, that's something that I think is very important to note and has to be very, you know, well thought out regarding the litigation of that. But also, you know, on the flip side, look, guys, I've seen people incarcerated for marijuana my entire career and ruin their lives because of it, right? Because they had a marijuana conviction and, oh, now they can't get a job. And, you know, so I have been very much waiting for legalization of a drug that is, well, it primarily was African American people that were charged with it. And I think possessing it in an amount for personal use is something that not only this state, but lots of other states are going to. And it certainly does cut down on the jail population. So, you know, that's the way I will be voting and when I look at that issue.
Okay. All right. And Shad, you have a question.
Well, actually, Mary has the question.
Oh, Mary has the
Hi,
question.
Mary. How are you?
Hey, hi y'all. Thanks for this opportunity. Shot knows that I am deeply interested in this because of my connection with the League of Women Voters. I do chair the Policing and Race Committee. We have 10 members that are very active since 2020. And Sheriff McGuffey have given us facts and details in the past, which we've really, really appreciated. So thank you. But we do actually have 3 questions, but I don't want to predominate. But one was actually about the ABLE program, because you've told us so much about it. And you did mention right now that you have statistical information. If it's possible, not even necessary now, but at some point, could someone send us some information about your the ABLE programs, what the outcomes? We'd be so interested in sharing that with others. That's one thing. The other is that we really do watch the Cincinnati Citizen Complaint Authority that was established. I don't know how many on this group are from Cincinnati, so you may or may not know about it, other listeners, but the CCA, we've attended some of the board meetings so that we really begin to understand how the process is working and how the investigators are the staff who are investigators or employed investigators
Mhm.
are really trying to dig down into what happened when a citizen makes a complaint. So
Right.
that is going on in Cincinnati. I just wondered, would you support a plan? I'm sure it would take a lot of resources with the community, but would you ever support a plan to create such a program in some subset, perhaps, of Hamilton County? It's just a wild question, but we
Yeah.
just know that it's going on well for Cincinnati, and I would love it if there was a thought of expanding that into other jurisdictions.
Sure. Well, let me answer the question by this. We have the Community Advisory Board. And when we have instances that are high profile, and they receive press and things like that, and there are issues surrounding it, the Community Advisory Board does take that up. Now, they do not have the authority to investigate. Okay. And I think that you're right. That's the key. I want to collect data. And when we get all of our technology up and running here, which we will, I want to collect the data because I want to see, what are we getting complaints on? And we did revamp the complaint, the complaint process. I'll say it that way. We now have a professional standards, which used to be internal affairs, but if you go to our website, we've made it very, very clear there how to write a complaint, how to send it in, and that sort of thing. And we address those. We don't just throw it in a drawer. We address them. We will get back to you and so forth. I haven't really, because of the community affairs or community advisory board, I haven't really considered having something that was more. And right now, as I look across the board with Hamilton County, and I'm going to knock on wood when I say this, our officers are, they're doing very well, and as I said, our use of forces are down 70%. And, if I see a need for it, if I think it's something that, that we can benefit from, certainly I will do it. But the way that we are working this right now is to build it. We're building it, and because it wasn't there, and in the future we may go to that, but right now I don't have any plans for that.
Okay, great. And did you have a third question, Mary?
Yes, I do. One of our members wrote and said, what is the top thing? It's a two-part question. What is the top thing that would improve understanding between the sheriff's department, and citizens is part one? And what actions can the public take to help move that change forward?
That's a great question. I think that pushing out information from our sheriff's office is what we work on. I'm very visible. I go to many, many community events. I'm there. I'm always ready to talk and answer questions. And we have, as I said, we've improved our website so that it gets updated for the things that we're doing as well. We have a Facebook page where we are posting, all of the different happenings. So if you go to our Facebook page, you'll see many of the things that we do. And, it's difficult to, reach out and get everyone, right? But if people have an interest in what's going on, I'm happy to do things like this. This is a way you can learn about our department, and I can answer questions. I think that the second part of that is what people can do is you can pay attention and seek out this information, which is really very easy to find, And then I'll tell you this, and I've said this when I talk to people. If you've encountered a deputy, okay, I'm not in charge of Cincinnati Police or any other police department, but if you've encountered a deputy who hasn't used good manners in the way that they've interacted with you, who you feel didn't act appropriately, etc., let me know, honestly. And I mean that, and I say that to groups of people all the time. I insist on good manners. I insist our deputies, arrive and treat people with respect. And I am getting that. I mean, we are very well received in the communities that we police.
So just to check in on that answer again. So how would people do that?
Well, you go to our
minimum-
website.
Yeah.
If you have a complaint, and you want
All
to
right, do the complaint. Okay.
yeah, you can go to our website and you can, make the complaint there. Certainly you can call the sheriff's office and leave a message for me, right? There is that number, 513-946-6500. And, as far as helping us, if that's the rest of the question, be good witnesses for us, keep an eye out. And if people are stealing cars in your neighborhood, call us and let us know, I mean, one of the things I'm so frustrated with all these car thefts is there's no media on it. Where's the media? When my car was stolen, my car was number 30 that was left in the exact same spot that they found my car in. I had no idea that kids were going around stealing cars. I mean, granted, it's my responsibility and so forth, and there's issues that I could talk about that happened there. But the main thing is I thought, well, God, if I'm 30, how come I haven't heard about this? How come nobody's been on the media saying, people, look, this is going on. Juveniles are doing this. This is how they're, and, I just have to wonder, why that wasn't more, pushed out. But I do push out stuff. If I know what's going on, hey, I'm going to let you know about it.
Yeah.
Great. Brewster.
Hey, Charmaine, it's great to see you. I'm sorry I'm late. I had to myself
he has
do
an
it.
official hand raised.
Hi, Brewster.
Hi. So it's great to see you. I was fascinated by what I thought I heard you say a moment ago, that the what dropped 70% your
Oh, our use of forces.
use of force, you said.
Mhm.
So that I'd love to better understand what that means and how that happens, because that sounds wonderful to me. And maybe
Yes.
I'm not understanding it, but that's great.
Sure. Well, we're counting what we do is pretty simple right at the moment, because we are getting a new system that's going to allow us to really do deep dive data. But what we do right now is we simply count the number of use of forces, because officers have to document that.
Oh, here.
And we've counted the documented ones. For when I took over, there were some 220 or so use of forces inside that jail. And to this year alone, it's down to 42. We have 42 use of forces. So, we are
reported by the prisoners,
use of forces that the officers have used on the prisoners.
as reported by the prisoners. I mean, they have to speak up and say use of force here.
No, they don't. No. If an officer uses force in a situation, they have to file an incident report. They have to report it to their supervisor. That's in the policy. If you don't, you are going to be disciplined. You'll be in a lot of trouble. So, no, the officers self-report, and, those use of forces, they come about for lots of different reasons. But when your officers are de-escalating appropriately, you're not going to have 220 use of forces in a year. I mean, that just kind of told me, with my experience, it's out of control. And we had to get control. You're always going to have use of forces inside a jail. But that's, to give you an idea of the numbers, that's how I'm getting it.
I can't figure out how to raise my hand. Everybody else is doing it.
That's all
But
right. Go ahead.
I do have a question. And that is, I don't have a grasp of the population of the jail and what the trends are there and what the composition of the prisoners,
Mhm.
composition in terms of what they've done, in terms of tenure there, how
Sure.
long they're there, and that sort of thing. Can you give us a little bit of an overview on that? I appreciate it.
Yeah, I sure can. You know, right now our population, it's about every day, it's in that general vicinity of 1,200 prisoners. All right. Of that population in our jail, over, I would say 70% are, now it's more like 65% are African American males. All right. And then there's a percentage of white males, which is going to be a pretty high, that's going to be a good 30%. And then the other percentage are the females, and that's African American and white. And women tend, we really tend to have kind of a half and half with women. There isn't that so much that disparity. There's usually more Black women incarcerated than white, I'll tell you that. But in general, they kind of run, pretty close. So what they've done to get themselves into jail, right now we have an unprecedented number of murderers. So back in the day, if we had 40 murderers, locked up, that was like a lot. And now we are trending to 160.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, our population right now overall is trending to much more serious crimes, felonies, and so forth. And I'll tell you why. And when I say these things, I'm mostly, referring to the male population. Because what's happened is criminal justice reform has been worked on now. I mean, Republicans, Democrats, everybody's embracing it. We all know the system's broken. And, we're all being very responsible in the ways that we're trying to approach it. So what's happened is a lot of those lower level offenders are not coming to jail anymore, right? They're going to agency programs. They're going on electronic monitoring. They're going to, addiction services and that sort of thing. So we're siphoning off a number of those people. And, it changes the dynamic of the population. So we don't have the same numbers that we used to. I mean, when I left the jail, when I was fired by, the sheriff, who I won't, mention, who I won't name, Jim Neal. Anyway, when I was fired by him, the population of that jail was 1,600. I mean, 1,600, yeah. And
I
now,
think they criticized you for 1,200 or something like that recently.
Yeah, they tried to find all kinds of things. But the point was, that reform model had not really taken hold just yet here in our community. And now it has. And now we're seeing, a different trend. Now, is it a good trend? I really want to embrace solving these violent crimes, the reasons why these violent crimes are committed. And let's get, the safety of the community first and locking these guys up, quite honestly. There are, and I've said it many times, there are people that do need to be locked up. If you're going to have a gun illegally and you're going to shoot people and you're going to do things like that, you need to come to jail.
So are these gang related or are they domestic violence related?
Many are gang related. And, the dynamics of gangs these days, because we have an intelligence unit as well that we have been building in our department. These members of gangs, it's not like the old days when you saw the gangster movies and you're in this gang and that's the gang you're in for the rest of the time. These guys move from gang to gang. Like, they're cousins of this guy. So then they pop over here and then they like this. So then they pop over there. It's a very different cycle now. And that makes it much harder to zero in on people.
Mhm,
But yeah, that's the dynamic.
mhm. Thanks a lot.
Mhm.
Great. There's some other questions. Anyone? Yeah, Brewster.
To what extent, Charmaine, do you guys coordinate and collaborate with Cincinnati police on things like gang intelligence?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? In fact, that's a great question. We just had a meeting, it was almost 2 weeks ago, with their gang intelligence and our gang intelligence down at Cincinnati headquarters with Chief Thiegy, myself, the chief deputy, and so forth, to share information and start really collaborating on how we can, dive in and get these guys incarcerated. So we are collaborating very well with them.
Excellent. Thank you so much. You're doing great.
Thank you.
You make me proud.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I have a question regarding what's going over in the Middle East right now, Charmaine. Of course, there'd been a call for jihad, I guess, all over the world.
Oh,
Is
yes.
that something you've had to be concerned about here in our area in Hamilton County?
Well, we went on high alert. So, our deputies are assigned to do a little extra patrol, be on alert for, hate, these acts of hatred against Jewish people and so forth. And we're very much aware of that. I also am bringing on a instructor to teach our recruit classes about anti-Semitism and so forth. And we're going to include, some strategies surrounding that for our men and women in uniform so that they're aware of what it looks like and what it is and why. And I think that will make us stronger. But yeah, so far, and again, I'm going to knock on wood, we've been very fortunate in this area.
Oh, yeah. Great. Any other questions? No?
I have one. Oh, good. My voice works too.
Yeah.
In the process of this, one thing I'm really interested in is the number of people that are able to, what do you call it when you get into jail and you have to pay something to get out? What do you call that?
Oh, bond. Yeah.
Bond. Okay.
Bond and bail.
So I think you started to mention it. So would you mention it again? Because I had a friend, not even in Ohio, but he got arrested for not paying his alimony, which is nonviolent. But that's not okay. But he ended up like overnight or something. He almost got raped. A piece of his tooth got knocked out, and but he couldn't bring up a bond. He wasn't willing. He didn't own his. I don't know why, but
right.
My point is, how does that work now? Because I'm sure you've improved that.
Yeah,
you already talked about it.
Well, and I don't know if he was incarcerated in our jail and that happened.
No, it wasn't in Ohio. It was in Colorado.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, because I would be very surprised if that happened in our jail.
No.
But basically, these guys come in. You get 2 phone calls, and they're able to call out. If they have their own money on them to bond out, then they're allowed to do that. We will arrange for that to happen. They then can, like for us, you can call and find out what the bond is. And then you can come down and bond them out. Now, if he wasn't bonded out, we're going to try to take very good care of him. The fact that, like you said, the things that happened to him, that should not be happening.
No.
Clear and simple. That's a poorly run jail if that occurred.
And it was 5 years ago or more. So
yeah,
many things have changed, but I was, yeah. What kind of bond? Just explain a little bit to me about bonds.
Okay,
like if I got arrested and I have an apartment, so I don't have a lot of money. Well, listen, I might be doing some civil disobedience, and those people that got arrested for I'm not going to be climbing the suspension bridge and putting up a flag, but you can if you want the media, you need to make a statement. You know how all
Sure.
that works,
Right.
Charmaine. So if I got
Absolutely.
arrested, how much bond would I be?
Well, so when you come into the jail, we do have some set posted bonds, particularly for those lower level crimes. You know, but
Right.
if you come in for domestic violence, that's a no bond.
No.
You've got no bond. But if you're coming in for like theft, if you're coming in for, and you're out of state or in state, makes a difference as to how much bond you're going to pay. There are set bonds for, you know, all manner of small crimes like menacing. You know, there are bonds for, trying to think of what, you know, what other crimes are out there that people are committing. And as long as they're lower level. Now, if you, basically the issue is, if you have a violent crime, if you've committed a violent crime, a crime against person, you are not going to have a set bond. Okay. And typically the bonds are set. When they are set, there's a piece of paper that lists the issue that you were brought into jail with, right? Possession, whatever it is, of marijuana or whatever. And you'll pay 10% of that bond. So typically bonds are issued and it's a issue of 10%. So if your bond is $1,000, you know, $100 gets you out of jail.
Oh.
So, yeah. And there, you know, that's the way it's always been done in the years that I've worked in the system.
So Ruth, just be careful. Don't hit anybody accidentally with your protest sign.
Right, exactly. Well, I just, you know, if you need to get the media, we all know that. If you want the media, if you wanted it, and again, people don't know that P&G is clear cutting forests for a nice soft toilet paper and not asking Native people about the land, or not asking Native people. Yeah, sure, they give them some money, but the people need, they live on that, you know, I don't want to go, but they live on the land. They can't.
Sure, absolutely.
And it is their land, and these are indigenous, but we need our Charmin, and P&G wants to make sure we get it. So if y'all want to help out, you can buy some that's recycled.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
remember to carry
Thank you, Ruth.
$100 with you, so if you're arrested, you can get out.
I'm
Yeah, for
sorry.
$100, I'll keep
$100.
100 behind.
Oh yeah, $100, right?
I'm just kidding.
That's funny.
Okay. Other questions, show me.
Charmaine, I put a question in the chat, just curious if you let the Jewish community leadership know what you're doing with training your people, which is wonderful, on anti-Semitism. I mean, it's one of these tree falls in the woods, you know, did anybody hear it? So can you, it's really, it's great what you're doing, and it'd be helpful if other folks knew what you were doing.
Yes, and I appreciate that. I do. Well, and the reason that we have created this training, or we're going to offer it, is because we were approached by a Jewish community group, and you know, were asked, hey, what are you guys doing? And we said, well, hey, if you want to come help us, please do. So
Great.
Yeah, so it is out there a bit, but you're right. That's a good thing to advertise.
I mean, there could be an article in the Israelite that talks about what your program is. So,
well, that's a great suggestion, Brewster. I am going to, we'll certainly make some contacts regarding that. Sure.
As well as for the Palestinian Arab community? I mean,
ideally both.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Sure.
Great ideas.
Yep.
Thank you all. Yeah.
Charmaine,
Anything else?
is there anything else that we can do for you?
Yeah.
Well, support my reelection. That's coming up at 24.
No brainer.
I mean, it was a boy, oh boy, was it a climb, the first one. And I have a lot more support now because people obviously can now see I can run on my track record and say these are things we're doing, but it's still going to be Jim Neal is running against me again. And I'm not sure why he wants to do that, but I am pretty sure that his campaign is going to be centered around you know, just disparaging me, you know, and criticizing me personally and otherwise. And I, you know, but so what you can do is you can help with my campaign, and it's already launched, and I've already been doing lots of different things, but house parties are something that we're encouraging people to get me to, so that, you know, your neighbors and friends happy to come and talk and so forth, and of course donations, but also when it comes around the time for the signs, right? Some people still have my old sign that was vote for McGuffey, and now you can just spray paint on it. I said, just spray paint on it, re-elect. But seriously, those kinds of things, and we will be out and about, you know, and, you know, really, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, there's something in my administration for you. You know, that's the message I try to get across the board to everybody.
And do you feel that the media sources in Cincinnati cover the things that are important for the jail to promote?
Yeah, I think in general, they're very good. When we let them in and say, hey, we're doing this, and hey, come down, look at this program, and that sort of thing. And they approach us in different ways as well. But you know, it's cuts both ways with the media, with me. Okay. I mean, if I stub my toe, it's going to be, you know, on the front page.
I'm thinking of basically WVXU. Do you believe that WVXU is, if you had a story to tell? I guess I'm just saying, I think so many people who are trying to keep informed go to WVXU. It's a source of so good information.
Your information about a 70% reduction in use of force and 60% reduction in the restraint chair use and so on. You know, we need to make sure the voters know these things. And
absolutely.
Indeed. I mean,
as well as we'd like.
In broad, you know, with knowledge, with facts behind it. So
sure. And here's the thing, you know, that I like to caution people with our data. Our data it's not up to speed. It's not as dynamic as we want it or detailed, because we can't get it out. It's a 30-year-old system that's holding a tremendous amount of data, and we can't get it out. So when we do get that data up, I can be very, you know, but we still have ways of describing, hey, this is how this is improved, and we can show you that. So yeah, your point is well taken, and I'm more than happy to get to WVXU, and sometimes they call us and so forth. I really typically do wait for media to invite me in, you know, and I've been on a number of times, but yeah, I'm happy to, you know, put out as many stats as we have.
That was a great opinion piece you had in the Enquirer. I think it was in August that they printed it. I thought that was very good.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Do you do an annual report?
We do. And you know what we're going to do, and that's required by the state. So we do an annual report. Typically, Brewster, honestly, people don't read it. I mean,
no, but it's a hook to get on to VXU, because you just issued an annual report. That's a reason why Lucy would have you on. That's all.
Oh, thank you for articulating that. I didn't know what you meant, but that is a great idea. You're right, because and here's the other thing. We just had this idea, and we're following up on it. We have to have the written report, but really what we want to do is push out a pre-taped verbal report. Because people will listen to that, you know.
Or maybe you can approach with this. I'm sorry, I forget her name. The head of Cincinnati Police, and have have the two of you. I mean, pitch to Lucy that the two of you would come on. I mean, it could be next week because it's so timely, and talk about what you each are doing to provide extra security for mosques and for synagogues.
Mm.
That's a really,
Both,
yeah.
both. And the two of you would be so powerful together. Oh my
Mhm.
God, I can't.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
maybe you guys jointly write an op-ed for the Enquirer.
Mm.
Well, and let me just ask you again, who did you suggest we contact at WVXU?
Well, I'm sorry, yeah, Lucy May,
Lucy
Okay.
May.
All
and
right.
and she runs what's the name of the show? Midday.
Cincinnati edition.
What's it?
Family
Cincinnati.
edition.
Cincinnati edition, right, from 12 to
right.
1
Oh,
on
yeah,
WVXU,
okay.
which is unfortunately the only local news, radio or TV show in Cincinnati these days.
Yeah.
Mm.
And the
Yes.
listenership is right up here. I mean, it's your people, right?
Mhm.
So
Sure.
it's really connecting to the base
Mhm.
about what you and your counterpart with Cincinnati Police Department are doing. I think it'd be a extreme. I think you could send a note to them. I mean, work this deal out tomorrow and send it to them, and they'd have you on Monday.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, and that will take some coordination on our part. My
Right, I understand.
schedule, the issue for me sometimes, honestly, is my schedule is just,
Yeah, I understand.
it's jam-packed, but also coordinating with the chief. So I just, I don't know that we could do it as soon as next week, but certainly it's a great idea and we'll follow up on that.
Well, it's very timely, and you guys are both doing
Sure.
really important stuff that people would love to learn about, and would be
Absolutely.
upbeat on about both of you.
Yeah, thanks, Brewster. That's great. That's a great suggestion.
Great. Well, Charmaine, thank you very much. We've kept
Sure.
you longer than we asked for.
Oh, that's okay.
Uh,
I'm super happy to talk.
But it's
Thank you. It's
great,
been great.
great to see you again. And remember, above 25 degrees.
Absolutely.
You're welcome to stay if you like. We've got a few other important things to talk about, and that invitation goes to everyone here to continue with us. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm
Thank
gonna go tend to my little dog. So thank you very much. See ya.
Okay.
Bye.
Lucy May.
Okay.
Great to
All
have you.
right.
Thank you.
Great.
Bye.
All right. I'm going to stop the recording here. Let's see.
Bruce.